That was how it usually worked. He was completely fine with that. It was less effort for him and had the same end result, a woman on his arm to absorb the echoes around him. He slugged down a gulp of water and wandered out to the balcony. The late September breeze held a bite of cooler air from the northerly flow, but the sun warmed his skin and kept the temperature almost perfect. His house was built on a slope with the lower floor hidden from the front and surrounded by 3 acres of woodland. It had been the floor-to-ceiling windows on both levels that opened to the view of the trees that he'd fallen in love with. He marked the seasons by the changing state of the forest and enjoyed every phase. The orange and yellow blasts of color were a sure sign winter was coming. He lifted his face to the sun and let it soak away the remnants of Patricia's wrath. All that angst because he'd neglected to buy the diamond necklace she'd wanted. Or was it because he'd snapped at her for setting her drink on his grand piano? Whatever. But he'd never understand why some women had to be so bitchy and cutting when they left. He snorted out a harsh breath, head shaking. It was his choice of girlfriends more than women in general. Shit. He jammed the empty bottle into the trash can and yanked his cell phone out of the pocket of his cargo shorts. There had to be someone around who'd want to hang out for a bit. Get a bite to eat, or he checked the time. Maybe a late workout or a game of tennis or something. His legs were still sore from the morning practice and the drills from his personal trainer. That was after the 2-hour workout with the Glaciers trainer. He could handle more, though, if it got him out of the house. He scrolled through his contacts, flashing past his go-to friends. Walters had fucking bailed the state to move in with his girlfriend in Atlanta. It had been a fantastic move for the man, but left Henrik without his best friend. Hawk and Riley were often tied up with their women, and he didn't need to be reminded of his newly single status, a state he always tried to remedy before it was generally known. He settled on Isaac Sparks and pressed call. He didn't hang out with his defensive partner as a rule, primarily because he never thought about it. Roller. Henrik had become Roller in college, the nickname morphing from Steamroller after his aggressive style of play. He blew past the confused note in Sparks's voice. "Hey, Sparky, how's it going?" There was a pause before a hesitant, "Fine." "Cool." Henrik scratched at the scruff on his cheek and plowed on. "Are you up to anything this evening? I was thinking of hitting a movie or playing some tennis. You free?" "Shit, Roller." A loud sigh came over the line. "I'm beat. I was planning on staying in and hitting the sack early." "Sure." His disappointment rushed out in a gush of air. "Be lame." "Come on," Sparks groaned. "You've seen how Coach has been riding me since practice started, and with Riley back I'm only one mistake away from being bumped to second pair." Yeah, the writing was clear now that Riley was playing even better than before his season-ending injury last February. "You think so?" he asked, playing the obtuse role that kept him out of conflict. "Maybe it'll be me who's bumped." The disgusted cut of a laugh said exactly how much Sparks believed that. Nice try. And that put an abrupt end to the conversation. What did Henrik say to that? Wasn't like he was working his ass off to save his own spot. "I'll see you at practice." "Sure." The line went dead before he could press end. He and Sparks had been the first pair defensemen for the last 2 seasons. Henrik had worked his way into that starting spot 4 years ago, and based on cycles, age, and attrition, he could be bumped, or yanked, back out of it pretty damn soon. But not this year. He wasn't that old yet. He flew over a dozen other names to call before abandoning the idea with a harsh curse. A bird squawked an irritated response, which was followed by an equally annoyed reply. His chuckle was dry and bitter. Even the birds had someone to bitch at. Great. Excess energy prickled over his skin to crawl across his nape. He rolled his head and bolted inside, paced through the kitchen, circled around to his formal living room, and ended up back at the picture window staring at the view.